what's up, guys? It's Drew back from the Money Is Show, and today I have a very special guest because finally I get to bring some more females on the show. It's a lot of men on the show, but today I get not just one but two ladies that came on the show with me, two sisters that are immigrants from Brazil. And they've built over a $60 million business this year with a women's apparel store line called Boom. I had to make sure I said it right because Boom, like Rome, is pronounced Boom, and you go to find it on boom.com. These ladies have been featured in Inc. 500 as well as Forbes. We're going to ask them a bunch of questions of how two sisters that are immigrants, grew up very, very poor, can build a $60 million empire. How does it work? How do you do it? How do you grow it? How do you scale it? How do you work with family and not kill each other? We'll answer all these questions today on the Money Is Show with my two guests, Vivien and Fernanda. Guys, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
That was like perfect unisons right there at the very beginning. Yeah, we've had a great day so far. I love talking business, and you guys can talk it with the best of them, and very, very fun. And so I want to dive into your story. You guys got a lot of stuff going on. It seems like, just catching the background of it, you guys are like on the verge of massive explosion is what you're headed towards right now. It's like the track that you're kind of going down, right? You guys obviously have these 16 stores already that are kind of the brick and mortar business model. And of course you have the online store as well. So I want to talk about growth. Where do you see that going, et cetera. Before we get down all those roads, let's back up just a second. Let's talk to the viewers a little bit about what was it like growing up as sisters. Do you have any other brothers and sisters? Was it a poor family, wealthy family? What was that dynamic like growing up as a kid?
So we actually do have another brother.
Okay.
It was just a family of 5, and we lived in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That's where we were born. We were raised there. And then in 1992, my dad wanted to get another master's degree.
Okay.
And then we moved straight to Utah, and my dad went to BYU. Now, this is 1992. There was a lot of immigrants coming in at that time as well. But growing up, I mean, as an immigrant, it had its challenges.
Sure.
I mean, we think about now we have a lot of information, but back then we had to be the adults in the family as children. So I was 8 and she was 9.
So despite my dad being super smart, for example, learning languages, it's not as natural as people think, you know.
Right.
You did it at 3 naturally, great. That doesn't mean that at 40, which is the age he came in at, that you're gonna do it. And he does equations with like 10 different variables for fun. Could not pass the TOEFL test. Yeah, that was tough. And so we stayed, and as we stayed, you know, we cleaned buildings, we did this and that. And so, yeah, as our parents didn't speak English, I had to be the errand girl, right? I had to go talk to the judge if we had a ticket. I had to talk to AT&T. I helped do my dad's master's degree because he eventually did go to school. And as 11, 12 years old, I had to go and type his reports and do his master's degree homework.
Yeah, you see that a lot with what maybe you would call first generation immigrants.
Yes.
Where the parents come over, right?
Yes.
And then the children, at whatever age, basically become the adult.
Because my parents were working 2 jobs. They were never there. We had to fend for ourselves.
And so
we had to do it all.
Also with the cleaning that we had to do, I mean, these were massive office buildings.
Yes.
I mean, we did that after school every day as kids until midnight every single
day. We cleaned, or we took care of the little brother.
There's two options.
Yeah, because
so
it was bad.
and a lot of people are thinking, oh, you guys owned a cleaning business, so that must. Oh no, my parents worked for minimum wage. We worked for free, and so and so you know, with a family of 5, I mean, if this is the poverty line, we were about here.
So we got hand-me-downs from people who got hand-me-downs, and about a week ago we were speaking just up the road here. And an old friend, Brazilian, was there. We've known her since, again, 1992. And she was shaking her head like, yeah, you got my hand-me-downs. So true story.
Met her again 20 years later, and that was her hand-me-downs that you guys were getting. Crazy. Yeah, so when you grew up in the family of immigrants, I want to talk just a little bit about it. Growing up, obviously something I never had to experience, never had to go through, right? But growing up in a family of immigrants, there's obviously a lot more challenges than a kid like me growing up, right? Like I never had to get on the phone with AT&T and translate, if you will, what the bill was saying and what my parents were trying to pay or argue about, right? Was there any maybe for both of you, one maybe certain instance that really sticks out in your head of like, man, I just remember, not that it was even a bad thing, but just remember, I had to go do this. It was really unique that here I am at 9, 10, 11, 12, dealing with something that a normal 9, 10, 11-year-old would never have to deal with.
There's so many.
You know what? There's so many. I mean, I can pull out one.
Going to BYU with my dad to do his research paper.
Yeah.
What 11, 12-year-old gets to do that? Helping their parents do their college homework.
Wow.
And you know what? This is, I mean, this seems so simple. And now I'm looking back, I'm like, what was I thinking? But simple things like I couldn't see in school, right? I couldn't see far. But for you to go get glasses and all of that, that costs money. That's not an option. So I'd always be very, very creative, right? So I would actually win any school fundraising that there was available to get that money. And I'd make it work. So, I mean, we've been paying our own bills since we were even 12. I mean, I know it sounds funny, but
that's
anything that we wanted, we had to get
do it. So if I wanted to go to the water park in the summer, I had to go knock doors and collect their trash, you know, and try to, because it was BYU housing at the time, and so you'd had to walk, and the students didn't want to do it. So, you know, 50 cents a big bag or something like that, and that's how I paid my way in. Because my parents, like, I didn't go to the movies. We didn't eat out. McDonald's was a treat, if that.
Let me ask you this, though. Do you think that growing up like that at 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever, the time frame there, when if you want to go to the water park, if you wanted to go to a school basketball game or whatever it was going on, and you just had to go figure out a way, like, well, I know this is not an option. I got to go find some other way for me to go do it. Do you think that has relived itself now as adults as you guys went into business together?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the creativity that you have to have, even to make that money stretch and grow. I mean.
So in one of my last jobs, the finance person had this sign behind him. And I used that quote to run my business, which was, because I've always had nothing, now I'm qualified to do everything with nothing. And I took that to heart. And so while employees are like, well, we can't do that because we need XYZ budget, I was like, I built a huge, I mean, my first build out cost us $5,000 and the store I think ran $6 million. You know, I've done it.
Yeah.
You can't open the till without any change money. Did it the first day. We didn't have money to put in the till. Like, there's just so many no's or so many barriers that you think exist, but they don't.
They really don't exist.
No.
So many people put them in front of themselves.
Right.
And I think when you grow up with a mindset that is highly driven to just solve shit, just whatever it is.
Shiz.
I'm going to solve it. I'm going to figure it out. And so much of business is like that. I mean, there is not like this. There's a lot of great books. Don't get me wrong, and we should read books. And you were mentioning a couple books earlier, but there's not a book that solves every single, like, it's some magical business books that says, oh, well, when you start your business, this is how everything will go, and when this happens, just do this. That doesn't exist for across the board in business. And I think so much of it is you have to have that mindset you guys have, where it's like, come hell or high water, I will figure this thing out. And it's not even it's funny, let me ask you this, because I just know how my brain operates and thinks. Is there even a option in your brain that it doesn't figure out?
No.
It's really not. I swear to God, there's not.
And you know what? Even hearing people talk about their children, their 20-year-old children, that they have to do everything for them. And I'm thinking, I paid for my own school.
I've been paying for my parents' stuff since I was 16.
I mean,
it's like the opposite.
Like, I don't understand when I hear
my parents'
parents struggling with their kids. That they have to do everything
unique
for them.
As I interview so many people, you get to see kind of like common denominators in successful people. And I'm just telling you, this is a common denominator, is successful people in their brain is just wired differently. I'm not saying they were born that way. They might have did it themselves, or by the force of in the scenario that you guys had to go through as immigrant, that their brain was programmed, wired this certain way, and it just doesn't quit. It's relentless, and I love that word. That's a great book as well. If you've read the book Relentless, great book. But yeah, it's unique to see that you guys have that same common denominator of just figuring it out. There's just whatever it is, solve the problem. Let me ask you this. Let's move on to, I want to know, have the viewers know a little bit more about your business you do now. Right, you've done different businesses, but the current business you have now, where you're featured in Inc. 500, et cetera. What is that business? Tell me a little bit about it.
So it's women's apparel.
Okay.
So we have 16 stores and bum.com. And now, due to COVID, e-com has just grown and it's taken over. Now it's 75% of revenue and growing.
Is online.
Yeah, and so we sell anywhere from dresses, jeans, shoes, tops, blouses, and we actually do a lot of the designs in-house, and we do a lot of the manufacturing. So now that we have the units to fulfill, we were able to do that, a lot of the custom design. And so right now, a lot of people ask, so what do you do in the business? What do you do? So I'm a right brain, left brain. Okay. So very analytical, I'm very creative. And so that's where we kind of divide our roles.
Which one, or both of you maybe, which one is more of the visionary of like where we're headed? Visionary role? And
I execute.
As I say, who's the implementer?
A little bit of both, but I like to execute.
Yeah, gotcha.
Kind of.
There's always that.
It's really funny how we come together, because you execute, but I have to also do the planning, right? And then I have to go after the results too. So it's like where we start and stop. It goes back and forth. It's kind of funny.
The lines are very gray in certain areas to accomplish the said goal there. About the business you have now, so you guys have 16 stores right now in a handful of different states. How many states are you in?
5 different states, and it's funny, they're not states that looking towards the future we're going to necessarily be in.
Expand in that state.
Right, no. Through our e-com growth, we've seen that the bigger cities want us. It's not the smaller towns that we thought at first. And so, we're going to head into Texas and San Fran and Georgetown. I mean, just different towns that we would have thought that our particular aesthetic wouldn't hit.
Yeah, and also,
but they are loving it.
I mean, over the years, we've also progressed as a brand, and our styles has evolved, and we've become a little bit more fashion forward to where people need to know that every zip code, people dress differently.
Yeah. It's so funny. We were talking about this morning. Not that it was a plan, but we were talking about my style this morning and how from Georgia and Florida to Utah, I had changed my entire style because they were not the same.
Exactly.
And I stuck out like a sore thumb when I was dressing like I did in Florida here. So I had to adjust it because in different zip codes, there are just different styles that they like or don't like. And if you put certain things in let's say a store in Georgia, it wouldn't sell because they don't buy it. It could be the top seller over here, wherever the here is, right? But a zero seller over there.
That's what's tough about retail, brick and mortar, is the ability to please all geographies, and it's really tough. Same country, different lifestyles.
For sure. Do you guys see that right now with your company that in the future, do you want brick and mortar store growth?
Yes.
Why is that important to you?
Because it's way more profitable than
really.
You know what? This is best kept secret, and I understand that online you can scale your business a lot quicker. We get that, but in the industry that we're in, you have to try it on, right? So in stores we get less returns, right? You get that customer service.
The cost of customer acquisition is so much cheaper too, and they tend to be more loyal. Whereas online, you have to pay for the shipping back and forth. It's the interactions just isn't the same. So, for example, Warby Parker, nobody talks about total e-com company with 100 stores, right? Why? Because they saw that it's way cheaper. And so we believe that there's a future, a big future actually. For example, you can get a better, cheaper, faster cup of coffee in your living room. Starbucks already developed the freeze-dried technology, but you still prefer to get dressed, get into your car, or walk to your Starbucks. They've had nonstop traffic growth. How? In the age of online shopping, where you can get everything delivered to you to make that cup of coffee, whatever it is that you like from Starbucks, why are you still going to Starbucks? Well, because of the design. This design is very 2021, for example. You're now going to tell your friends to meet you at Starbucks. No other retail place is doing 2021. Your malls are doing 1991, 1971. So it's rough. So that's why retail has such a bad stigma now. Oh, retail, I didn't go to the mall. But when you pick the right centers, and as retail will continue to evolve, a lot of it has to die, we're going to go back. Or not or for us not, who didn't stop, we're going to keep going.
On the brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, we forget Sears existed. Sears has had a catalog since 18 something. Your great grandma shopped out of her pajamas too. It's not new.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
There was it Sears and Roebuck or
Sears and
Montgomery
Roebuck
Ward's?
was bigger than Amazon is today.
Yeah.
They were crazy, but we see how.
Do you think that with stores then you hear all this negative press on retail space?
The retail apocalypse.
Yeah, you hear all this negative stuff on it. Is it and you see like some Macy's and Dillard's and
but look
closing.
at the retailers they're talking about.
That's
They're the ones
what
that
I'm
are
asking.
innovating.
Yeah.
Their store designs from 1992.
And is
Bed Bath & Beyond. How did Bed Bath & Beyond fail when housewares have been going off the chart? Because their design is from 1989. It's sad, but my group of Mexicans that I trained to go out with me and do build-outs could design a better Macy's than Macy's. I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm just saying they've completely missed the mark. We don't want to shop out of chrome racks.
Is it size of store? Like Macy's massive stores, right? Dillard's massive.
It's not size. It's the customer experience that has to be innovated.
The design. Again, it's not 2021.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the shopping that I do, and I would say so much. And again, it's price point as well. We're paying for clothes. What price point you're willing to pay? But I say for me, just think about the clothes that I buy, and I buy would say higher end men's clothing. I actually mainly care about customer experience as I'm sitting thinking about it. Like, if there's someone there to help me through the process, that's literally what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And when you don't help me through the process, I'll leave. I'll go somewhere else. Now, granted, I'm paying a certain price point. I don't know exactly what your price point is, but like, I want that customer interaction, or I say customer interaction, employee interaction. I want that employee help to go through it. Versus, I am not a shopper who wants to walk in the store and shop around and shop this entire store with not an employee interaction.
So that's something we pride ourselves on. Most of our training is that customer service and all the touch points, because the amount of people, what people tell me, wow, I went into your store, I got help. Nobody in your entire center, even in the center, even acknowledged me. And I said, you know what? People are so used to not having that customer interaction that they're shocked when we give them that service. Because it's not required anymore, but we go above and beyond. That's what our team does.
Yeah, it's unique as you build your brand, your business. Brands have to be known for something, whatever their thing is, right? They have to create a feeling and emotion inside of a brand. And talking kind of like you filling in that customer relation brand there, if you will. But I wonder how much with retail shopping, maybe versus online shopping. I'm just again talking out from a viewer standpoint. When I think about shopping, I wonder how much of shopping, I know mine is not shopping in the store for what I have to have. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of money. So if we went shopping somewhere, it was because we were going there for this one thing, right? This one dress my sister had to have, or whatever it was, right? Like this one, we were in, bought it, and or shopped for that one thing, and then we were out, right? There was one bag coming out, and it was going to have that dress or whatever it was in it. But now it's like as kind of cultures change and so forth, I go shopping now more for retail, a therapy. Like I'm just shopping because I'm like, oh, I do need some more clothes, and I'm going out shopping, and I'm casually shopping. And to me, when you have that employee that stops by and helps me when I'm shopping, it adds like 6 things to my freaking cart. Because they're like, hey, this is a hot piece that just came in. Really, really good. You should try this one on. And I'd have never tried it on, except for they told me, I'm like, oh, okay, tell me then.
So Andrew, what you just said, how many people I know I talk to, they pride themselves in only doing online shopping. Oh, I don't have time to go out. Oh, that's so beneath me. I do everything online. Well, 2020 has proved to us that people went berserk, locked in their houses. Look at what happens to humanity when they're stuck at home looking at a screen. You need that interaction. You need to see people. People need to see you. You need that.
I need to be seen.
And there's so many more
I should write that down somewhere. I need to be seen.
It plays to all of your senses too. Going out and experiencing the smell, the touch.
So we were talking to one of your employees, right? And she's like, the candles. It's like, that's so funny because I put in there exactly for that, to create the mood. You come in and it's like your senses, your eyes, right?
What you see, what you touch, all of it.
So that we transform.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when I host the events here, I start my event like my team in the parking lot, and I want to know when this person drives up in their car, what's the first thing they're going to see? Like, I go to where their car comes in my parking lot. I know where it's at, and I stand right there and I look to see what they see, because I want to know what my customers see first when they show up, and then I want to know, okay, where are they going to park at, and then I'll go fix the parking spots for that. What's the first thing they're going to touch, which is going to be my door handles, and I literally think through all of it, and then what they smell. I go through all because I want to make sure that I hit every last of the 5 senses that people have, because I want them to remember me. I want to be, they don't know that it's maybe happening, but it is happening. It's what Starbucks was mastered at. If you ever study them, mastered. There was many stories you could study on Howard Schultz, and he always talked about, he said, I don't sell coffee, he would tell you, I sell an experience. And then he would break down how he would do it, and he would do basically what I just said. They had one of those Starbucks outside their main headquarters where they would test stuff. And he would go in there constantly and see if what was the first thing he smelled, what was the first thing he heard, and it meant everything to Starbucks or to Howard Schultz was that right there. And it's funny, I have a coffee guy that owns coffee warehouses or roasteries, and he said literally, like in other countries, like there's like, I didn't know this stuff, I'm not a big coffee person, but there's like A, B, and C beans or something like that. And he said Starbucks beans are literally like C beans. Like they're like almost throwaway beans that the farmers don't use. And he said other stores, coffee shops like mine, could have the A beans, but Starbucks will outsell us and sell it for 5 times more because of what they've created around the coffee that people haven't figured, that people struggle with right now, right? Which sounds like what you guys are doing right now at Bohm.
Yeah, and especially in our organization, in our culture, we value creativity at the very top.
Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about earlier. We were talking about like creativity is as much about is just equally as important about inventory. To me, creativity is like
both have
so
weights.
important. Yeah, yes. For sure. And it very I think business owners understand that. I think so many. I've worked with some. I've done associate stuff with many that don't understand the value of the creativity side and how they're presenting themselves, their company, their brand. And they lose so freaking much. And their complaint is it's going to cost you more money. It's like, yeah, but it's going to make you more money if you can understand how this thing works.
35% more is the math. It's the number we keep going back to.
That you guys go to? 35%
more in sales.
Based off of, maybe give the viewers an idea when you say.
So for example, let's say we built a store in 2011, right? And back then it was very shabby chic. That was the trend. Then you come to 2015, that trend is done, right? And customers now want something a little bit more timeless. And so when I would remodel, it was 35% increase in sales. And so when you take a great brand like Target, my local Target here in American Fork has had about 2 remodels that I can think of since they were open in 2003. I follow Targets like the back of my hand.
Yeah, sure.
And you think of the remodels Macy's has done, 0.
Yeah.
So in 15 years, Target has done 50, 60, 2003. Anyway, they've done 2 remodels. Macy's in 20, 30 years here locally, 0.
Yeah, on the remodel side.
We have a problem, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think Bohm would ever get to the point of getting into the big stores, the big, I'll call them as a consumer, the big massive box stores, like
as a wholesale brand?
As a
brand.
like
you know what's funny? You must be a fly on our wall because we're always talking about
I'm just a businessman.
You know what? We talk about it. We talk about adding different categories in the business. Oh yeah, that's definitely a conversation, and when the time is right, we'll execute. We would like
to.
And the other thing I want to make sure you guys do is you got to produce me some sort of men's apparel.
There's a dearth of men's. There's like nothing,
the talks.
right? Yeah. You have American Eagle, H&M, Zara, which it's flamboyant, and some of the Zara, H&M stuff, it fits. It doesn't fit the average American man.
Yeah.
It just isn't.
Well, they have
the
different cuts.
Nordstrom,
yep.
Where a Henley might be 180. There's no in between, right?
Yeah,
we have a
very, very weird gap in men's clothing.
Yes.
Unless you want to spend $125 on a button-up shirt. At Nordstrom or Saks Fifth, then you're basically back down to Express at $20, but you better be a European cut anorexic to fit in that shirt, right?
We have that in mind.
Very unique fit there. All right, so let me. You guys have this massive business right now, which I love. I understand now that you understand everything. Let's go back to some business stuff and business principles. First of all, catch me up on the story of how you went from children, immigrants, working night cleaning at big office buildings for free to help the family pays bills, translating, full-time translators for a lot of times, and then, hey, we were going to start this store. How does that first store take place?
So then, at that time, I was majoring in fashion, and Vivien was working as an executive for a couple different companies.
Executive admin.
Admin, but
secretary.
So she talks me into it, that we needed to open a business. I said, I want nothing to do with retail. I wanted to move to New York and work for some couture line or something. And at that time, it seemed a little overwhelming because, you know, we didn't have a network, you know.
Yeah.
Our families didn't hang out with other connected families, right? We didn't have the cash to do it. And so after she talks me into it, I said, okay, fine, where are we going to get the revenue? So I just got one little American Express credit card. And that's what kind of started the fuel for it. But during
that's the whitewashed version of it.
Yeah.
So let me give you the nitty gritty. The way that I convinced Fernanda is that I worked in a real estate company, Ponzi scheme, that did hard money loans in 2006-07. And so they would take your money, they'd buy real estate, right? And really it was hard money loans. And they were paying great interest. So I said, let's get an SBA loan, let's get a credit card. The SBA loan, when applied to this business, will give us enough money to pay for it and whatever we put in a credit card. And that's how I got Fernanda in it. So it took me 2 years.
So you were going to get an SBA loan to invest in the hard money company?
Right.
Okay, so you're going to get, I'm
well, kind of.
I'm going to make
right,
a
to
number
put in the
here,
business.
right?
So
yeah, so you're going to get an SBA loan for $200,000 that you're going to put into this hard money.
Oh, it was like a $20,000 loan. It wasn't big.
That is going to pay you off a return,
right,
off this $20,000, and then you're going to use that plus the Amex
to pay for the American Express.
the monthly fee
right,
off the American Express, and you're going to hit the American Express to go open the store.
Right.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go
Name
wrong
me
with
one
that?
thing.
I
Name
mean,
me one thing.
My friends and family thought it was all good.
Yeah,
so by the time I'm 25 with 4 kids, and the company goes bust, and now there's $650,000 personally guaranteed to me gone, with not an asset to go after it. So by the time I put my house in it and everything, I'm down the whole $1 million.
Wow.
And yeah, that was my 25th birthday.
This is not the store. This is not the clothing. This is the
we were still trying to design. We were trying to get the thing. You know, we were trying to get it off the ground. And now I'm like, Fernanda, crap, I gotta pay people back. These people, I mean, there's people's life savings on that. And Fernanda's like, I can't believe you just lost $500,000. What do you know now? So I was like, well, we have an American Express, because Fernanda again kept pushing the balance right before the recession or the limit. And thank goodness that the #1 mall here took credit cards as payments, because that was the salvation. We did a temp lease, and we did everything wrong. I mean, we didn't know how to price. Fernanda just jumps on a plane, goes to LA. We went from, I guess we're renting, to open within 3 weeks.
Whoa.
And I had no retail experience. You sold stuff at Cachet. I mean,
at
Cachet.
So then at that time, we had a graphic designer that kind of did our logo and said, oh, you know what? You should use the word BOHM.
Which we hate.
For your store. We're like, we don't know better. Sure. So now it's BOHM, all caps, black and white. Yeah. And we have this tiny little black and white store.
600 square feet, $10,000 a month.
This was the first one at the mall.
Right. So we opened doors, and then we noticed people would just walk by and go, oh, is this like a European shop?
Or that store looks expensive.
Oh, it's so expensive.
Let's
keep
not
walking.
Go in.
Interesting.
So that's why from that time on, our build-outs were very rustic, lots of imperfections, so that the customer wouldn't think, oh, they look expensive, because we're in Utah. This is not the price, right? This is not the lifestyle.
After that store, it was just a 3-month lease. We closed it, and I said, Vivien, we should just cut our losses and get the heck out, because I don't want to do this anymore. It didn't work. Nobody likes the name. We should just switch the name.
And I'm like, no, I got to pay people back. We're going to do this. There is no.
So now we're closed. We're in debt. People didn't like the concept, because you have to think about it. We're Brazilian. We show off status different than Caucasians do, right, in our town. So we really had to learn, okay, what do people around us want? Okay. So then at that time, and I think I speak for many entrepreneurs out there, you need divine help and divine intervention. And so at that time,
you need the stars to align.
I honestly, I prayed if this was something that I needed to continue.
Yeah.
And at that time, I received a clear answer that I needed to go back, to work, and that there would be angels on the other side that would help us navigate this and make this work. And because of that, I thought, oh, okay, we're just going to go back and start all over.
Yeah, because Fernanda again is pissed off at the whole thing. And I'm like, no, no, no. We learned this. We got this. You know, the next concept.
So then the second concept, I mean, it was all grunge. I mean, these were Ed Hardy days, right?
Okay.
We painted the store black.
I had jeans hanging off the ceiling, True Religions with
handcuffs,
which was great for theft prevention because those things would walk off. You know, and the walls were black. And we probably had like 6 different T-shirts because we didn't have money for inventory. We just spread them out.
Oh, yeah.
So when our employees today are like, we don't have any inventory, I'm like, you don't know what I don't have inventory means.
So then
you know?
we're ready to open the till, and I'm like, Vivien, there's no money inside the till. She's like, there's no money in the bank. Oh, crap. How are we going to give people change? I don't know. So we opened doors on Labor Day, and sure enough, we had people just paid with cards, and they had exact change, and it just worked.
Worked
and then
smooth.
A couple months later, we were just #1 per
now,
square foot.
was this second store, was it not the same location as
No, it was a different mall.
Gotcha.
They didn't have space for us.
Gotcha.
So we went to a mall close to by here, and within 2 months we were #1 sales per square feet. And the little, you know, the little hamsters there is like, if you have more of these, you can pay the people back faster.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I tell that to Fernanda. Fernanda's like, no way, not doing this again. I'm like, we're growing, you know. And the next day, I swear, the mall that we were in came in. This is December 24th. December 24th, you don't see mall people in the mall, but there he was telling us, hey, ladies, you got to go back to Fashion Place. And that, I think, flattered Fernanda. So Fernanda's like, fine, we'll do a second one. But I was already scheming, right? So we walked by, we couldn't get it. We eventually found another location to open our second store. Now I'm 9 months pregnant, guys. 9 months pregnant with my 5th.
Okay.
Doing construction.
I did construction. We couldn't afford it, you know. Fernanda finishes the store, and she's like, I'm opening. I'm like, I just had a C-section. You have 0 employees. BTW, I'm the IT girl. I'm the one that sets up the computers and the charger. And how are you going to do it? I don't care. People are ready to give me money. We're opening. Like, crap. I get out of the hospital. I go to the UPS store, pick up the computer, go straight to the store with the newborn, and I install to make sure that we get the money because, again, got to pay people back.
Yeah.
And you won't believe, 3 months after that, we opened our 3rd store. There is never any money involved. We just make it happen. So it was my dad and I laying the floors while Fernanda worked night and day at the second store.
How fast did you open those? What was the span between the 3 stores?
I wanted to say that on Labor Day that we had the 3 stores, and Labor Day we opened the 3rd.
And you opened the 3rd on Labor Day.
Yes, and within about a month or 2 of that opening, all my stores were #1 sales per square feet in the women's category.
Yeah.
In those malls?
In those centers.
Okay, gotcha.
And this is back in when we first opened our store, it was 2007. So people weren't
8,
comfortable
9,
yet
yes.
doing online shopping.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it wasn't hot
different
then.
mentality. I mean, we didn't have the Pinterest, we didn't have Instagram, all of that. We didn't have that.
Yeah, you know, on the online thing, going back to for a second, it's like, I know yours is exploding right now. It's just weird because I refuse. I do a lot of online shopping, but none of it is for clothes. Like, none of my online shopping is clothes because I hate ordering something, not knowing how it fits, not knowing how it feels, and then I got to get it. And I got if it doesn't fit, I got to freaking turn around and ship it all the way back and ask for another size, or they don't. All of mine is done in store right now, which is so unique because I was wondering which way you guys were going to head with it, stores or online. Obviously, the answer is both, but you guys do have plans to go more and more stores, and now you're at 16 stores. Now I want to talk about a little bit about kind of this your business kind of tactic here of why you went to these certain towns that you went to, because I think there's a lot of actually wisdom behind it, truth behind it, of why you went. It's a lot of cold,
calculated math, which, so here's the thing. Back in 2010, 11, as we were doing our strategy, Fern and I had no desire to do retail long term. It's a merciless game. Warren Buffett says you have to be smart at it every day, and that takes a toll. Retail's the #1 in heart attacks, by the way. Because when your denim for back to school is stuck in the port,
what do you do?
What do you do? Everything in the mall is calculated by sales per square feet.
Okay.
And in every center that we went in, especially 2010, 2011, I mean, #1 was always Victoria's Secret back in the day, not anymore. But back in the day, it was Victoria's Secret. And, you know, we knew we didn't sell sex, so take that out. The number 2 would be Buckle. So we thought, great.
So the store, Buckle was number 2.
Very good at what they do.
And at that time,
believe it or not.
At that time when we had our growth, I mean, we're talking bling, denim, heavy stitching, crowns and wings.
I'm all about that.
And so the Midwest just ate it up. And so at that time, that business model made sense.
So the cheapest store, the rents were fantastic. They gave us money to build out. So I was like, so how much does your Buckle do? Oh, is that right? They do 5, 6, 7 millions in that little box? Yeah, we need to be there. And so we went into all of these towns that have, really, Iowa, South Dakota, you would never think. And when they opened, we were printing cash. It was so good. We just had to open. No, we never spent advertising. We didn't do $1 of advertising really until like 2016, 17.
Wow.
We didn't need to. The malls were fine. And then 2013 comes along.
Okay.
And it brings us Instagram. Everyone talks about, Amazon's killing us. It's not Amazon.
No, it's not Amazon.
It's Instagram. Because Instagram made everyone be a creator, an editor of their space, of their aesthetic.
For sure.
And malls didn't really look good anymore. That's why you're staying at home too. Your home's probably closer to 2021 than maybe your local Olive Garden. I don't like Olive Garden. So anyway, or a lot of your spaces, your Walmarts, whatever. And so now we see a different shift in the customer. Now they're going to the malls, not liking what they're seeing, and buying online. It was 2013. That was the defining year. And so as the traffic contracted, these malls in these smaller towns were now struggling.
Okay.
And the customer aesthetic shifted. They went more clean, whereas we were a little bit more romantic.
Okay.
And we went from #1 sales per square feet to losing out on that online business to my copycatters doing so much better. And we didn't know what to do. We're like, do we do clean cut? Do we do bohemian? So Fern and I had to stop everything because we were about to go out of business, which is how, right? And we brought in an investor, and that investor said, hire the pros, and these pros come in, and they come. Nothing that we were doing were good enough. Let's make it better. Let's do this. And I swear it's the same thing that happened in Nasty Gal. Funny enough, it's the same thing that happens in a lot of soft goods led by a woman.
Okay. Wait, what's soft goods?
Clothing, anything that can be switched fast. You have an investor, you have a team come in, and instead of that team being accelerated to success, there's always a breakdown, and they start going down. And we can talk about women and leadership on another day. But I think there's more than a coincidence because of the rate of how many of those just go out of business. Anyway, so now we are at this fork in the road. What do we do? That's when I started reading Onward by Howard Schultz, and that's how I studied his Starbucks, the Maestro machine, everything. And we said, you know what? We were going after the low-hanging fruit because we feared going against Zara. We feared going against the big guys in bigger cities. And I just thought, let's get everything ready. Let's work on the branding. By the time we hit Texas or these big cities, we'll be ready. And we took a more long-term business approach. If we're not going to sell, if we're going to be this and we're going to be here in the long term, what should we really be doing? And then ever since we took that approach, the business has just gotten stronger. Whereas before it was just what's going to happen this week and what's going to happen this quarter. Now we're planning for, what really do we want as our foundation for the next 5 years? And so now we're in such a better place, such a better viewpoint. And the business is so much bigger, which funny, Zara is right in front of our store in Fashion Place, huge Zara, and our tiny little store. It actually increased our business.
Wow.
We didn't lose.
I want to go to Instagram.
Yes.
Talk about Instagram for a second. It's such a unique point you brought up there, because I think, make sure, if I say this right for the viewer, maybe they have the same question, which is, when you say Instagram changed it, you're saying because you had a ton of these, let's call them fashion bloggers that came out, and they would post an outfit with themselves on it, and then tag, say where every last piece came from. This shirt came from here, this store, this store, this store, wherever it was. Sometimes they're getting paid on it, but most of the time they're not. They're just tagging in it for so forth. And Is that what you mean? How Instagram hit you so bad? Was other people would see that and they would go buy that shirt from there?
And a lot of pretty pictures of
right.
pretty places.
And I think a lot of the dollars got distributed
I can
very
definitely
thinly.
See that.
Okay, so before where it's like, okay, your local mall got all the
yeah, they all came there to
the money.
Yeah.
But now you have hundreds and thousands of online businesses marketing to you on Instagram, and now that the dollars are getting spread thin.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
One thing about influencers and brands, they approach it, but indirectly because they don't want to hurt the relationships. Influencers have actually made our life so much harder. So your typical influencer is a size -2, is what I like to say. 5'7", blonde, eyelash, that's the typical.
Yeah.
Well, that woman takes a lot of time to make sure that she looks good, and she wants to show it off. So she'll wear skinny jeans and a certain top and a certain shoe. And that's her uniform, because she knows if she doesn't post that, she doesn't get the engagement. Well, when you have lots of influencers posting nothing but skinny jeans, the industry cannot move forward. So we went from bootcut to skinny to colored, and then we got stuck at the skinny and colored because influencers wouldn't move on. We were supposed to hit flares 7 years ago. So when you're stuck and you have already 50 pairs of skinny jeans, you're not going to replace the skinny jeans.
Right.
You already have it in your closet. So if you, honestly, I know most of the viewers are men, but for those that want to test my theory out, take your influencer, block out their face, and look at their last 5 years of outfits. It's going to look a lot the same.
Yeah, very, very similar, right?
Right.
This style, I mean, I follow some of it, not as much as you do, but it's very similar. It hasn't had a big shift.
That's their brand.
Yeah, for a while.
And so, my goodness, finally now we're getting cropped jeans and wide legs, which means you're going to have to buy new shoes to go with the wider leg, which means your tops are going to have to be more fitted than the past.
I mean, and
we haven't had big trends.
Right, and the other thing that Instagram has done is, years and years and years, we went from the runway to the streets, and now it's from the streets to the runway. Right.
Kind of reverse the whole process there.
Which I actually think that's cool.
Uniquely enough, I'm going to say Instagram for a second. Do you guys ever use any branders, influencers, etc. to market? You guys do?
We do.
Yeah. And put your product. Have you found good success in that? Is that online where they're driving them to?
So the bothersome thing about it is the ROI is never, like, you can never pinpoint it. So you don't know if you're doing it to gain popularity or brand awareness, or if you're just wasting money. So sometimes you can give them a code and you can monetize and see exactly how they perform.
Right.
We don't tend to deal with the super big ones.
Sure.
We like the smaller micro influencers.
So you hit the micros and then you give them a code, promo code.
Yeah, and also the micro influencers, they have a lot more loyalty. Because they're more in touch with their followers.
Yeah. So it's what I always talk about in brand. It's impact versus influence, and there's the difference between those two words right there, right? I think a lot of times when people think a brand, especially in today's society, when we think about a brand, we immediately ask the question, how many followers do you have? It's like the go-to freaking question that everybody asks. And there's a massive difference between, that would be how many followers, meaning influence, right? Well, I've got 2 million that I influence. Or impact. And impact is how deep am I in with those 200,000 people versus the 2 million, right? And the 200,000 will buy more from that person than the 2 million will buy off of the other one. Now, if you combine the two, you've hit the holy grail.
As a team, internally at Bone, we would freak out because we'd so Suzy Q is already at 200,000, followers, and we're only like at 100. Oh my gosh! Then we would talk to our vendors because we all buy at the same place. So how much is Suzy Q ordering? Oh, 12 pieces.
That's what I figured.
Wait a second, because I'm doing 300 pieces. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, you start seeing that there's a lot of fakeness that gets built into it pretty quick. Again, because they were so concerned about that number. What that number said. A lot of people bought fake on going to Fiverr.com and buying fake stuff, and then you kind of see that, wait a second, I'm actually buying more pieces than she is. But to the naked eye, it kind of looks like she's crushing it in that world right there. So you do use ambassadors, for lack of better words, right now. You guys do use ambassadors now.
Yes.
What is your main, I know your main source right now because of COVID, everything is online, but what would you say is the main driving the customer to the sale is it a marketing thing you're doing? Is it advertising? Is it a brand that they're now addicted to the brand? And you have just repeat customers that are coming in and in. Is it the brand ambassadors? What is like maybe the main engine driving the customer in right now?
Facebook, Instagram.
I think it's
interesting.
I mean, we have a lot of the ads, but we also have a lot of our customer base from our brick and mortar that add to that. And we've noticed that every time we put a store, that surrounding sales shoot up.
Yeah.
Interesting. So it's still the Facebook and Instagram. And let me be clear, or for more clarity, is it ads that you're running on Facebook, Instagram, or is it the ambassadors, or just posting?
There's a whole funnel of ads.
And it's the ads that push the most right now.
Yeah, I mean, and don't forget Pinterest. That's a huge pipeline for us.
Pinterest blew up after COVID.
Pinterest as well.
People used Pinterest differently
after
the pandemic hit in March. So this year we're going to try to actually not wean off, we're just not going to grow our Facebook ad spend as much. Okay. Because it's just starting to get saturated and expensive. I think we're going to actually grow more with influencers and different strategies that way.
When it comes to, I know you talked about success and the stories you've had so far. I want to go to the flip side of that. I want to talk about all the freaking failures you got to go through as an entrepreneur. And we had a conversation earlier that we agree upon is everybody sees, almost kind of had it there, where almost everybody sees just the face of any company, boom, right? What I do, money is. They see the face of it. They see this, you know, they're watching it. I see the studio. Oh my God, this guy's got everything there. You look at my office and it's like, God. But there's a lot that people don't see when you're building a company like Boom. Right. When you're starting with nothing and trying to make something grow from it. Talking about maybe a failure, but more importantly, I want to know how did you get through that failure right there? What made you get through it?
So, gosh, we failed a lot, and many times, thank goodness, in all the perfect ways. But the biggest one, my most feared one, was exactly what happened in 2014, after the aftermath of 2013. You know, we have all these stores, and they're in XYZ places, and now Utah wants to go clean. The out-of-state or out-of-Utah stores want to go bohemian, and we're like, oh shoot, now what? We can't please both. Yeah. And we're just imploding. It was like a death spiral. And so what I did was, I just had this faith of, I am going to be a big company. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what my P&L and my balance sheet says. I am going to be a big company. I am meant to be to have a big company. So if I am meant to be a big company, what would I do if money wasn't an issue? Okay. And I already knew I had to remodel. Okay, what am I going to remodel to? What will the brand be? And so that's where I read The Glitter Plan by the people that founded Juicy Couture. Where did they go right and where did they go wrong? The Starbucks. All the earning reports of all the major retailers for the last 40 years, I read. So Urban, Les Wexner with the limited brand companies. And they all pointed to one thing. The cool kid gets the cool kids. Okay. So we had to go cool. What does that mean for the brand? Here's the build out. Here's the this. And I honestly had to not pay some bills. I had to take that money and get with a few Mexican friends of mine and rebuild the stores. That's what I did. And
you know what? We had VPs of large corporations, centers, fly into our corporate office and laugh and said, you guys are out of business. On paper, we were out of business.
Right.
You have 30 days to bankrupt. Yeah. And we just
Pretty
said,
much.
Give us 6 months. We're going to turn this ship around.
And I just knew we were going to do it. I don't know how. And so I think because I had that faith, it opened up to different possibilities. And within about 2-3 years of that, we were back #1 sales per square feet. We were back to retaining my employees. We were back to just winning as a company.
You have to know something about us. We take a lot of risks. And I know you mentioned a little bit before, how do you two play in the sandbox, being family, and being sisters? And we go at it almost every day. We're
about to go at it after this.
I mean, that's just how it is. That's just all, you know, we've grown up like that. We're Brazilian, we're feisty, and we're both red personalities, right? Okay. So you add all of that, and we're very opinionated. So a lot of times we either, you know, we can pick our battles and sometimes it's not as easy as a coin toss, but one thing that we align is that there's two types of players, the ones that are playing not to lose, and then there's the ones that are playing to win. We play to win. We both like to take the risks, and we know where we need to get the brand. So at least we align in that one vision.
Yeah, which is a massive piece of the vision, because when you talk about playing not to win, I see it a lot of times in sports, right? You see it when a team is winning by a lot, and the fourth quarter is there, and they start trying to milk out the clock and play different types of defenses, and I will lose my mind. Like, that defense has been winning the entire game the way that you've been playing. There's a reason you're winning on the offense and defense, and now all of a sudden you're going to change up the entire strategy. And I know you make tweaks in it, but you see these teams that will literally just like put almost a different team on the field to play, not to lose. And dude, it is a mistake in business, because business moves too fast.
Right.
Industry moves too fast. People move. Social media, it moves too fast. So when you try to make an adjustment to not to lose, you will lose. It moves too fast.
So I'm Brazilian. I don't really watch sports, but I will watch the World Cup every 4 years, and I've seen this country be vibrant, and we call it joga bonito, play it pretty. And now I'm like, wait, defense the whole time, defense. Not as entertaining, right? It's not at school. Must be boring for employees too.
Yeah. Ooh, great point. Great point.
Another thing that plays into our successes in building our company culture is whenever we interview someone we like to split what they are good at. We ask flat out, what's your God-given talents and gifts?
Yeah.
What's your superpower, right? So we ask those questions to put them in the right seat of the bus, right?
Yep.
So that's how we've found success. We've had somebody come in and interview for a certain position. We're like, and I don't know why we're really good at looking at somebody and go, you're not creative, you're admin, what are you doing, right? And so we love to put people where they're gonna thrive. And I personally have a big belief of following your journey and really knowing what's your talents, what's your gifts, how can you better your community?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree with that point. I believe everybody's born with a certain set of gifts, skills that are not mine, and mine are not yours. And although some of ours would be similar, and when you put someone who has certain skills where they're meant to thrive, and you can let them thrive with what they're naturally good at, you will find much better success at a business versus hiring someone that's a friend, a buddy, a partner that's good at one thing, and you think, well, I think they could probably do this for me. It is all about, you mentioned a while ago, about getting people. There's two steps here. Number one, getting the right people on the bus. Super important that you have the right people on the bus, meaning the right people on your team. Team is everything as you scale and grow a business. But the next step is where it really separates from to great companies, which are those who can get the right people on the bus, but then those who get the right people on the right seats in the bus. You can have a lot of talented people on your bus,
right?
But if they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing in the right seat on your bus, you actually have more confusion and disasters coming your way because they're all frustrated. But man, when you can get them to be where they're supposed to be and use their gifts and talents, it is like a recipe for success.
And Andrew, you take that and you can apply it to any principle in life. And I'm not even talking about monetary gains. I'm talking about people finding what their purpose is in life. And when I say that is, a lot of people will think, oh, so-and-so is making a killing off of this idea. I need to go do that. So-and-so is making tons of money in real estate. I need to do that. It's like, whoa. You can't compare journeys, right? What they're supposed to learn, what they're supposed to do is one thing, and maybe they're really gifted at that, and you're not going to put in as many hours as that guy over there. Why are you comparing? And you need to use your talents, your gifts, and however that is to make it work. And so I've had a lot of women come up to me and say, and I'm speaking to the ladies here, okay? Sure. They come up to me and go, oh my gosh, you're so accomplished, you've done so much. I'm a stay-at-home mom. And I always say, stop right there. Don't say another word. And I always say, I have 3 children of my own. She has 5. Raising children and having them, that's an eternal investment, right? Yeah. And so how do you know that your journey in life and your purpose in life isn't to raise those children that are going to change the world, right? So comparing journeys is not the way. It's like, really pay attention. What does the universe want you to do? What is that you have to contribute instead of comparing journeys, right?
Yeah. For sure, man. There is so much truth in finding your purpose and running with your purpose. And not everybody's purpose is meant to be the same, and there's a lot of jealousy that drives people to go do something they shouldn't be doing, because that's not what you're meant to do. That's not what you're. We all have a purpose. When you find people that are living their purpose, gosh, you can find some happy people. Happy people. They might work a ton, but they are happy at what they do, right? I want to go back to just one more thing. You made me think of it when you talk about in the valley, in business and so forth. And I think this is what you were saying. And I always say that sometimes in the valley is where I find my true vision for my business. I mean, like when I go through a hard time and I get in the valley and it is dark and I feel like the freaking walls are closing in on me. Because I know you have this, we talked about earlier, because I have this no surrender mentality of, yeah, I get it, the walls are closing. And it's like when they came in, the VPs are like, no, I swear to God, give me 6 months. Because we have that no surrender mentality, for some reason, in that valley, I will get hyper-focused. And it almost gives me clarity sometimes of the vision of where I'm supposed to be going in that dark moment. And then I'll go that direction. It's
not complicated, is it?
No, because sometimes when everything is going great, and like when everything is going great in business, you can go 1,000 different directions because you have money, you have success, you have team, you have people. I get pitched stuff all the time at my office of, you can do this, Drew, you can do this, you can buy this. And it's actually sometimes harder when you have success to figure out which way to go. But I'm telling you, man, sometimes in that valley when it is dark, if you can hyper focus and where quitting is not even an option in your brain,
right?
You will see that light and at the end of that tunnel, and man, you can hyper focus on a vision. And in the valley, you can sometimes find the best vision of your future in that dark time. I think that's what you were talking about a while ago. Right. When it gets dark, you can find that your competitors are actually not that scary.
No. No,
like
they're not.
You mentioned Zara or whatever it was.
They're not.
That time frame
I mean, they're huge and they're amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it took me a lifetime to get close to them.
But you don't have to be afraid of them. They're not gonna.
Not afraid.
I always think in business, a lot of times there's more failures than wins, and it's about taking your failures and your weaknesses and making them a strength. And I always say, just growing up in life, and I mean, I'm not here to just tell my sob story of how we grew up. I'm here to say, nobody's a broken wheel.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Stop making excuses. If I can be really frank, oh, I have daddy issues. Oh, my ex screwed me over, blah, blah, blah. I mean, we hear all this stuff. It's like, don't make excuses and move forward. Take those weaknesses and make them a strength, right?
I use a more southern term. I say, save the drama for your mom.
Save the drama for your mama. But it's so true. It's so true. Yeah. Everybody. I've never met one entrepreneur ever in my life, and I interview them all the time, that did not have drama or did not have reasons of why they shouldn't do it. Like they all have reasons that every other people will use that exact same reason that this person has. Someone else over here used it, and this person used it, but for the opposite, as fuel or motivation or drive to drive them forward. And this person decided to use the exact same daddy issue,
or
ex issue.
Bingo.
Or I have kids, and it's like, great, I've got 5 of them.
Yeah.
I don't have money. I was like, well, not only did I not have money, I was like $1 million in the hole. And for those viewers, yes, I did pay people back 2010. Like, there's all these things. And so for me, especially as an immigrant, it was important, and I always wanted this, to open a business that could guide others or could help others be inspired by it. Because we opened a multi-million-dollar public business with no money out of our own. I didn't have an education. Fernanda didn't go to school for fashion. Kids, I mean, there's just so many I didn't haves, and I still did it. So when somebody tells it to me, I'm like, BS.
Yeah, I agree.
Not buying it.
There's 1,000 stories out there. We all have our own stories, but it's just how you use that failure right there. I want to wrap up with this last money is question here with you. And I don't know if you guys are going to do 2 answers or 1. I'll leave it up to you guys. But I got your names on here. I got 2 photos of both of you on here. So we can go 1 answer or both answers. I'll let you guys decide that. Let's see, Fernanda, your name is first. So, well, if you guys use 1 answer, it doesn't matter who writes. If you're gonna do 2 answers, then Fernanda, you would write first. So write the answers there, and then sign here, right above your names.
All right. Okay, so Fernanda's first, or are we going to do one?
No, yeah, let's do one.
You gonna do one? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
One line here.
Do we say it out loud? Or
Well, when I get it back, yeah, we're gonna discuss it, and then sign above your name, Fernanda. Or I think your sister calls you Fern.
Yeah.
Is that right? I think I picked up on that.
I'm gonna just go. Bloop.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh yeah. This was it's funny. You put this word here. This was one of my dad used to teach me these things called keywords in life. There's 172 words in the dictionary, but there's certain words that are key words in life that you have to know, and this was one of them. And their answer is money is potential. Money is potential. Great freaking word. I just had a flood of memories from my childhood about how that's such an important word in life. But why would you, I want to get both your answers separate here, and then I'm going to talk about it. Vivien, why would you say money is potential?
Because it unleashes your potential. So if you have a potential to do good, you're going to do more of it. If you have a potential to be generous, you're going to do more of it. Mm-hmm. If you have a potential to do evil Knievel stuff, you're going to do more of it. And so it helps, or it gives you, or how do I say it helps you reach the measure of your creation, the potential of your creation. Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. I interviewed Gary Vaynerchuk, and I thought he was going to use this word, exactly what you're talking about. He used a different word. But he was talking about money as a revealer, and that's what you're using right there. You're saying basically, look, if you're a generous person, uniquely what happens is, if you're truly a generous person, when you get money, it just magnifies, or the potential of you being more generous comes out.
Yes.
If you're a mean, evil person, when you get money, it just magnifies it, and the potential of for you to be more mean and hurtful, it's just, the potential just explodes out of you. And money is definitely one of those things where I always say that money doesn't change who you are, it reveals who you are. And that's what you're referring to when you talk about that. It has the potential to either have you do really good or really bad, depending on what's inside of you internally. Right. Great answer for potential. And Fern, if I can call you that, what is potential? Money is potential mean for you?
I think the potential is what you can do with it. And I always think back of the parable of the talents and growing that money.
I always think about those.
Right? And the parable of the talents, people think of talents. No, I think of literal money and making that grow and stretch and to what that potential can do. And I never think of money as somebody that's given to one person. You always think, oh, this person's so lucky. They built this business. They're successful. Oh, no. That person's blessed to bless everybody around, right? It's putting food on the table. We're not vessel
of the blessing.
Right,
we're more of a conduit. We move it around.
There's another great word that I always use for money. Money is a conduit.
Yes.
It's a flow through, where the blessing of blessings, where you're helping other people. And it's funny, Fernanda, I always think about, almost on a daily basis, I think about the parable in my life of the 3 talents that were given.
Okay, so we're aligned here. That's
and the
good.
talents that were given there. And I think if my memory serves right, it was 1, 3, and 10, or 1, 5, and 10. I can't remember the exact talents that were given.
1, 2,
yeah,
3. Oh my gosh.
10, 5, and 1.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
1, 5,
Hello,
and 10. 1, 5, and 10. I couldn't I just do 1, 2, and 10, but it's 1, 5, and 10. And then what they did with them, what the consequences were, how they sat on them, how they griped about. There's so much freaking truth inside that one parable that we have, and then what's respected of us.
And that person that hid the talent because they just had the one coin,
they were afraid. They played defense.
We talk about this all the time. How people have that fear of loss, right? So they want to keep that. Yeah. And Vivien's always saying, I don't like people that are too stingy. And I said, I'm like, Vivien, why not? And we had this conversation of everybody has their purpose in life, right? So if you think so and so is too expensive for their service or their product, right? Or for their creation, well, how are they going to fill the measure of their creation if you're unwilling to pay?
Mm-hmm. For example, if you went out and bought a Ferrari, some people will say, well, that's so wasteful. That's a stupid car. But to a human, it was very important for them to design this beautiful, fast machine. So you cannot discount that because you don't think it's important, because it's not in your thing, or not in your, what is it? I don't know. I don't want to
I know exactly what you're saying.
Because really, we don't need that much clothing. You can go get it at Walmart. You don't need that much of a house. You can live off of a tent, for crying out loud, and comfortable, a tiny home. You really don't need a whole lot of stuff. Everything else is luxury.
Yeah.
And so I think different humans have different potential of their creation. Like they just, something makes them just sing, right? And if you don't buy stuff, if you just hold it in you, another human's not able to fulfill it. That's all. I'm not saying be wasteful. I'm just saying help others.
It's funny, I saw this, I'll wrap it up with this. I saw a TikTok just recently, and a guy had bought a new yacht, and it was a pretty expensive yacht that he bought, and he was showing the yacht off in this TikTok. And I went through the comments because I just like to see what people's reactions
Go through the comments.
Just let me see what people are saying. Humans. I love studying humans. And sure enough, one was saying, I think said something along the lines of, do you know how many people you could feed with that money? And yeah, of course there's truth to how much money you could feed, and I could reverse the question to the same person and say, well, how about you just stop doing this, this, and this, and I bet you could feed another 100 people with your money right now. But again, they don't want to look at it from that standpoint.
Right.
But I look at it the way that you're saying it. But you understand that the guy who bought the yacht, do you know how many jobs that was helping create and how many families he was feeding? Do you know how many people it took to build the engine, to build the motor, to create the oil, to create the transmissions, to build the
leathers and the
the leather to stitch it?
I mean, that's putting food on the table of hundreds of businesses to build that multi-million-dollar yacht.
Correct. And then there's going to be a team that's got to travel with them. There are people there to like that. I understand what the person is saying, and I'm going to go one step further. Is what you're saying with it is like, yeah, and that person who designed that yacht, that was what they were created to go do. That is their like purpose in life, and when you're not willing to value someone else's purpose in life, it's very hard to value your own purpose in life as well. Anyways, awesome. I love your guys' answer. I love interviewing you guys. Great. I love having women on the show. I love having minority on the show, being from immigrants from Brazil and finding such massive success. I'm excited to see where BOEM goes and where you guys take it next. Hopefully it will be men's apparel, and I will be your first customer if you do men's apparel.
Yes, you will.
I will be your very first customer.
I'm sure you'll be on the board.
I'll be on the board for you. And very happy to see where everything is going, excited about it, and love to have you back to talk about a little bit more, have a conversation just about women and business and minorities, immigrants, and business. Those are two topics I love to dive deep into that I just don't get spend a lot of time with. And there's a lot of truth that needs to be uncovered that I would love to bring up to the forefront from a business owner, right?
Yes.
And how that looks versus from a theoretical politician, government worker.
Or think tanks.
Okay, I got to get off of the government side. All right, guys, thanks for watching The Money Is Show with Vivien and Fernanda from BOEM. Make sure you guys check out the website at www.boem.com. You guys get some awesome women's apparel. I was going to say lady, but women's apparel at their store. You guys follow them. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week on The Money Is Show.